A log-antilog amplifier or converter is explained in this 220th video in the circuit design playlist. Two input voltages V1 and V2 and one output voltage Vout. We want to show they follow this exponential formula that looks like an extended version of Shockley Diode formula. We are saying Vout is equal to V1 multiplied by e to the power V2 divided by Vt, in which Vt is the famous thermal voltage of transistor KT over Q, which is roughly 25 or 26 millivolt, assuming that the PN junction of these BJT transistors is at room temperature. The requirement is these BJT transistors, they need to be matched. And for example, here there are a couple of solutions I'm going to discuss quickly. And then for the op amps, we would like them to be in the same package to minimize mismatch between them. And also we would like them to be FET input, low noise, and then zero drift, zero offset or near zero offset op amps. So for transistors, the potential good choices are that 300 series that provide either in the 300 package or 340 package at least two matched NPN transistors. For example, there you go, and there you go. For alternatively, we can use solution from onsemi, and that also in this dual transistor matched package for NPN transistor provide the option for us. And ultimately, a more expensive but the more famous one is the MAT14 from Analog Devices that provide quad matched transistors. We can use two of them. For the op amp, again, as I said, for these two op amps, we want them to be in the same package with good properties. For instance, ultra low noise, low distortion FET input. That's a OPA 1656 from Analog Devices, and from Texas Instrument. And then we have also the other choices are listed here potentially depending on frequency of operation. We have possible choice from Analog Device, but then better choices from Texas Instruments, in this case TI OPA X607, or other cases depending on the frequency of operation, target frequency of operation. But that's the practical side of the component choices. Assuming then we properly select the NPN transistor to be matched one in the same package, then let's proceed with the analysis to see how we can get this formula and show that the circuit really operates like that. With that said, all right, so this is the input voltage V1. That input voltage V1 is here, right on this side of resistor. We make the assumption that op amps are properly biased. For example, plus minus 15 volt or 10 volt supply are connected. So I'm saying they are properly biased then. And then because negative feedback is there, so you can see that the positive terminal of op amps is grounded. So we have 0 volt there. So 0 volt, 0 volt, assuming op amps in a linear region and with proper negative feedback, we can assume that the virtual short is there, and op amp will force that the negative terminal also follows the positive terminal, and they have both equal voltage, 0 volt. So what happens is, therefore, on one side of this resistor we have V1, on the other side we have 0 volt. So the voltage drop across R1 is therefore simply just V1. So we can find the current that flows through the resistor R1. I'm going to show it with red color. So this is the current that is flowing through the resistor here, and that current is, say, I1. And that current cannot go through the input terminal of op amp because it has practically infinite impedance. It can only go this way. The only reason we have these very small, let's say 1 nanofarad or even less cap are just because practical purpose for stability. So they don't have a contribution at the target frequency of operation. These are basically very large impedances, so we don't consider them. Okay, so I1 then passes through this route and then will get to this transistor and becomes the collector current of transistor. So I1 is obviously, let's say if this one T1 transistor, I1 is IC1, and then it becomes effectively IE1. You can see that the base of transistor 1 is grounded, and then the base of transistor T2 is connected to a voltage V2 and then to the ground. So that's the structure. Now, this IC1 will also end up going through the emitter and downward. into the transistor T1. Okay, so one thing we can write obviously is using Shockley PN junction equation. We can write IC1, or basically just I1, equal to e to the power. So here is, just to show it here is the plus minus VBE1. So e to the power, so I1 equal to IS, the saturation current. And again, we are making the assumption two transistors are matched, so I'm using the same saturation current and in the same package, of course. VBE1 divided by V thermal. So that is the Shockley PN junction equation. So that is the well-known Shockley diode equation. And I'm going to use that. So let's stick with that one as equation 1. What else can we write here? Well, I can just also add that we have I1. So the current I1 is equal to V1 divided by R1, because as I said, V1 appears fully across R1. So therefore, the current I1 is V1 over R1. So that is also equation 2. Now, the other thing I have is I can do the same thing with respect to V out and R. And again, we prefer, by the way, to have practically low tolerance resistors like 1%, as is shown here, so that we minimize the variation in the result. With that said, so V out is on one side, and again, this cap is just for stability reason. For in the range of frequency of operation, we can neglect it. And then 0 volt appearing across both terminals. So 0 volt is here. So what I'm trying to say is the V out is across R as well, and that will enforce also the output current I out like that from across this resistor. So I can add new equation now, which means I can say equation 3, for instance, I out equal to V out over R. So that's equation 3. And the next thing I can write is, again, as the same as happened for current I1, we can also say this I out can only go through the collector of T2 and downward, and becomes effectively roughly the current of emitter. So that is IC2 as well. I can use the Shockley diode equation for the that transistor as well. I can just say I out therefore is equal to IS e to the power. So we have now V base emitter 2, which means IS e to the power V base emitter 2 divided by, again, VT. We can use the same IT and IS and VT for the transistors. We are assuming they're in the same package and matched. That's why we said we should have matched transistors. So now I can use another equation as well. The KVL shows that VBE2 is related to other voltages like this. VBE2 is effectively equal to, on one side, the base is just V2. You can see that. And the emitter is just ground minus VBE1. So I can say VBE2 is VB minus VE2, VB2 minus VE2, and VB2 is V2, so that is V2, and then VE2 is just negative VBE1. So in summary, the equation I wanted to show you right now is VBE2 is simply V2 plus VBE1. Great. So that's my equation number 4, or let's say this is 4th. So let's for now keep this as equation 4. And let's refer to this one as equation 5. Okay, so if I substitute 5 in 4, so using 5, then I get this follow-up equation, which is I out equal to IS e to the power V2 plus VBE1 divided by VT. All right, then this is the target equation that I wanted to use. So I am following up on that. So that's equation 6. I am going to now show that then if I continue writing equation 6 here, I have, so combining, let's say, equation 3 with 6, I can basically replace IO. So what I have is combining equation 3 and 6, substituting for IO, I end up having V out over R is equal to, that's IO, IS, e to the power VBE1. So I am just breaking the power VBE1 divided by VT times e to the power V2 divided by terminal voltage VT. Okay, so now the nice thing is you can see here, this portion is exactly the right-hand side of the equation 1. So basically, I just showed that we have I1 here. So combining or basically substituting for using what we found in equation 1, we get therefore V out over R, the left-hand side, equal to I1 e to the power V2 divided by V thermal. Okay, so the only thing I need to do is now use equation 2 to substitute I1, and I'm going to do that exactly. So next step, use equation 2, substitute I1. So I am going to substitute that V out over R equal to V1 over R times e to the power V2 divided by V thermal. And that's the end of the plan. So R cancel out with R, assuming again we use low tolerance resistors so that they are practically matching. Then we end up finding our ultimate target, which means we end up showing that exactly V out is equal to V1 times e to the power V2 divided by V thermal. That is the plan that we had. So this is the ultimate goal, as also shown here. So we showed that effectively this circuit is somehow operating under an extended version of the Shockley Diode Equation, because in Shockley we say voltage of diode or PN junction is V thermal, and then we say I equal to I diode is equal to IS e to the power VBE over VT, and this seemingly following that sort of a exponential relationship, and that's interesting, but only for voltages. So this is referred to as Log-Antilog Amplifier, and it has many applications, especially for voltage-controlled amplifiers in a nonlinear fashion. So there are many practical use cases for this type of circuit in audio amplifiers, for example, and especially, as I said, for electronically gain-controlled amplifiers. Or VCAs. And I will try to post a follow-up video in which I have an extended version of this, famously known as Black Mirror amplifier, but that's for a future video. I hope that you find this analysis and discussion of Log-Antilog amplifier useful and helpful. Thanks for watching.